The morning was supposed to unfold like any other quiet day in the White House. The East Room hummed softly with the familiar sounds of cameras clicking, microphones being adjusted, and reporters settling in for what everyone expected to be a routine press briefing. President Donald Trump sat nearby, surrounded by his team, carefully reviewing his notes and preparing for the official statements he was about to deliver. Then, unexpectedly, the heavy wooden doors swung open, and Barron walked in. Rarely seen by the public, Barron was known for his reserved nature and fiercely private life. Despite being part of one of the world's most talked-about families, he always stayed in the shadows. But that morning, something was different. There was a seriousness in his eyes, a focused, weighty expression that immediately caught everyone's attention. President Trump looked up from his notes, his eyebrows arching in surprise. "Barron?" he said softly, voice a mixture of curiosity and concern. Barron didn't answer right away. He walked calmly past the rows of reporters and blinking teleprompters, settling quietly into a small chair just off to the side of the stage. Without raising his voice, he asked, "Dad, would it be all right if I stayed here for a moment?" Trump nodded slowly, a soft smile crossing his face. "Of course, son. Please do," he replied warmly. The usual buzz of conversation in the press room fell into a deep, expectant silence. "This wasn't planned," Trump admitted, breaking the quiet. "But if Barron wants to say something, then we'll listen." For a few seconds, the room remained still. Trump continued with his briefing, moving through prepared topics and lighthearted remarks. But all eyes remained fixed on Barron, who sat quietly, elbows resting on his knees, hands loosely clasped together, as if gathering courage. Then mid-sentence, Trump paused and looked directly at his son. "Are you feeling all right, Barron?" he asked, genuine concern lacing his voice. Barron slowly raised his head, locking eyes with his father before speaking words that would ripple around the world within hours. "Dad, may I say something about Jesus?" he asked quietly, his voice steady but gentle. The room froze. Trump blinked, slightly taken aback. "Right now?" he asked, disbelief tinting his tone. Barron nodded without hesitation. "Yes. It's important." A soft murmur swept through the crowd. Reporters raised their phones, recording the unexpected moment, their expressions a mix of surprise and intrigue. Stepping back from the podium, Trump gestured for him to continue. "Go ahead," he said quietly, encouragement clear in his eyes. Barron stood slowly, unarmed by notes or microphone. This was his moment, unfiltered and real. Before he began, Barron addressed the viewers watching from home. "Before I start, I'd love to know where you're watching from," he said warmly. "Leave your city in the comments below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories that inspire." He took a deep breath, the weight of what he was about to share settling over the room. "This is about something much deeper," Barron began softly. "Something many wouldn't expect to hear from a place like this." The crowd leaned in, energy shifting palpably as Barron prepared to reveal a side of himself few had ever seen. He lifted his gaze slowly, scanning the faces around him with calm determination. His voice was soft, but every word carried weight. "Dad, I realize this isn't the kind of speech people expect here," he said, choosing his words carefully. "But what I want to share goes beyond faith. It's something I've carried inside me for years, a question that has shaped my soul, one I've never dared to voice until now." Silence settled over the room. Cameras focused intently on Barron's face, capturing raw honesty instead of polished statements or rehearsed speeches. From the outside, my childhood might look privileged: private schools, constant security, always in the public eye, Barron explained, showing vulnerability. But I was also one of the loneliest kids. There were countless nights when I was left alone with my thoughts, wondering who I really was beneath the spotlight. He paused, allowing the weight of his words to settle. "It's hard to explain, but I often felt invisible, like my true self was hidden behind expectations and headlines. I wasn't just the president's son. I was a boy searching for meaning, trying to find something real in a world that often felt so manufactured." He glanced toward his father, who watched quietly, arms crossed but eyes steady. "Last night I couldn't sleep. My mind raced with questions I couldn't shake. One kept coming back louder than the rest. What does it really mean to follow Jesus when you live surrounded by power and privilege?" A murmur rose from the crowd, half disbelief, half curiosity. Some wondered if it was scripted, but the sincerity in Barron's voice was undeniable. "I'm not here to preach or impose beliefs," he said gently. "I'm simply saying that I believe in Jesus, in the teachings of love, truth, and kindness toward those no one else sees." His tone softened as he looked directly at his father. "I believe in those lessons even for the wealthy, the powerful, and yes, even for the president's son." Donald Trump blinked slowly, his expression unreadable. Barron took a breath and continued. "As a kid, I used to wonder why Jesus said it's so hard for the rich to enter heaven. That thought scared me. What if we've been so busy building empires that we forgot how to build people?" The room shifted uneasily, but Barron wasn't attacking anyone. He was simply asking the hard questions out loud. "One time I asked my dad what scared him most. He didn't answer, but maybe his fear was the same as mine, to be powerful but empty inside." A long pause followed. "Lately, I've been reading the Bible more often," Barron said quietly. "No one told me to. I was just searching for something real, something unfiltered, not political, just true." He ran a hand through his hair. "And what struck me most was how quietly Jesus made his impact. He didn't shout or campaign for votes. He simply came with kindness." The crowd shifted. This wasn't a political rally, it was a confession. "I think we've forgotten kindness. We argue, debate, cancel each other out. But Jesus, he just kept coming." Silence fell again as Barron's eyes swept over the room. "I'm not here to shame anyone, including myself. But I am here to ask a hard question, one that includes all of us. When was the last time you truly followed Jesus? Not just used his name as a weapon or a shield, but followed him with your whole heart?" No one moved, not even his father. "If you only use his name to win arguments, you're not following him. You're hiding behind his reputation." The room held its breath. The real story was just beginning. Barron stepped forward. "I am no preacher. I'm not known for any great act. I'm simply a person trying to understand what it means to be real in a world full of masks." He looked directly into one of the cameras. "Have you ever felt like something was missing, even when you seemed to have everything?" People watching at home paused, whether in kitchens, cars, or offices. That feeling, the unexplainable emptiness, was something everyone understood. Barron turned back to his father. "When I was 10, I asked if God really listens to the rich. Do you remember?" Trump's expression softened. "Yes," he admitted quietly. "You were crying." Barron nodded. "You told me God listens to everyone, but I didn't believe it. I thought maybe he skips over the powerful because they don't need him." Facing the room again, Barron said, "But I need him." There it was, raw, unfiltered, human. "I've had sleepless nights not because of stress, but because I felt fake. Smiling for cameras, standing in crowds while inside I was drowning in questions." He clenched his fists. "One night I whispered to Jesus, 'Do you see me?' The East Room seemed to hold its breath. Even the hum of the lights grew faint. I didn't hear a voice, but I felt something. Like someone was right there beside me. Like I wasn't alone. That moment pulled me back from the edge of numbness." Trump's face softened. No longer the politician, just a father. He took a step toward his son, but Barron gently raised his hand, signaling him to wait. Barron took a deep breath, feeling the weight of his words hanging in the room. He spoke quietly but with a strength that couldn't be ignored. "I'm learning faith isn't about perfection or having all the answers. It's about showing up even when you're broken or confused." He glanced at his father, whose face held a mix of pride and something softer, almost vulnerable. "Maybe that's what we all need to stop pretending and just be honest with ourselves and each other." Barron's eyes scanned the crowd once more. "I want to live a life that matters, not just in the spotlight, but in the quiet moments no one sees." He smiled faintly. "And if that means walking a different path than expected, then I'm ready." With that, he stepped back, leaving behind a silence filled not with judgment, but reflection. As we close this unexpected glimpse into Barron Trump's world, we're left with more than just a story. We're left with questions that touch the core of what it means to be human in a world filled with noise and spectacle. What did we learn from Barron's quiet courage? First and foremost, that beneath the surface of privilege and power, there can be a profound struggle with loneliness and identity. It reminds us that no matter how visible someone might seem or how much attention surrounds them, the internal battles remain deeply personal and often unseen. Barron's reflections on faith challenge us to reconsider what it truly means to follow a path of kindness and truth, not as a show for others, but as a sincere commitment to living authentically. His words invite us to pause and ask ourselves, are we using faith or belief as a shield, a weapon, or a way to claim moral superiority? Or are we embracing it as a guide toward genuine empathy, humility, and love for those around us? We also learn that power and privilege do not exempt anyone from the search for meaning. In fact, they can sometimes deepen the struggle, creating a gulf between external success and internal peace. Barron's vulnerability shows us that courage is not about having all the answers, but having the bravery to ask the hard questions. Most importantly, Barron's story is a call to honesty with ourselves and with one another, to stop hiding behind masks of perfection or expectation, and instead to embrace our brokenness and confusion as part of the human experience. Because it is in that honesty where true connection and growth happen. So what should we pay attention to in our own lives? Let's listen more deeply to others, to ourselves, and to the quiet stirrings of our hearts. Let's choose kindness over judgment, authenticity over performance, and empathy over indifference. Barron's journey reminds us all, no matter our background or circumstance, the search for meaning, belonging, and truth is universal. And it's only by facing those questions honestly that we begin to find peace. Let's keep the conversation going. Subscribe, share, and drop your thoughts below. Your perspective is valuable and might inspire others.